Okay, so this is a fun little build I came up with. I was just bored one day and was like, hey, I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm gonna make a mercenary witch hunter that uses chaos spells. So I'm gonna do a map real quick, tier 15. I'll do this delirium over here. There we go. Show some gameplay first and then I'll go over the crazy stuff I came up with. So the build is pure chaos damage. You're stacking a few curses, and you're using Hex Blast as your main clear, your main damage, and it pretty much just explodes everything on the screen. Survivability is pretty good. I mean, it's POE2, so you can get one shot, mainly by bosses, but mapping's pretty fast. You basically just click and it's all dead. And the two curses I'm running are Enfeeble, which helps, survivability, also adds a little damage. And currently there are no nodes for chaos damage penetration on the passive tree that I know of. I think there's one that gives you like 3%, whatever, right? But the other curse I'm using helps with that. Gives you about 30-something% chaos penetration. So Hex Blast basically explodes anything that has that's afflicted by a curse. And I ended up stacking a bunch of area of effect size on my character, so my curse is pretty much almost full screen. That you can see the curse icons as soon as they appear on my screen. There's a few other things going on, but I'll get into that later. Yeah, pretty fun little map build. It does okay for bosses. It's not gonna explode them in a few seconds like those videos you see. I also have a way to freeze stronger enemies like that rare. And anytime you see that white explosion there, that's pretty much the whole reason I went Witch Hunter. It's a 10% chance when you kill an enemy that they'll explode and do their full health damage to anything nearby. It also scales with area of effect size. And sometimes you get like this really nice little chain reaction it does. See, this is a stronger enemy. There you go. And make sure to freeze the rares. The way I'm freezing the rares, Essence Drain, right there applies a Chaos Dot. And there's a support gem that any skill that applies a Chaos debuff or damage over time, any further Chaos damage to that enemy has a chance to freeze them. It's great for bosses, great for rares. We've got an absolutely nothing this run. But yeah, it turned out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it overall. My gear is not the best. I could definitely min-max it a bit more. Yeah, it's just nice and chill. This is a tier 15 map, having no issues at all. Everything basically gets one shot except, some of the tougher rares. It's a nice little chain reaction there. For 10%, it actually happens a lot more than you'd think. Another thing Witch Hunter has, which is nice, is Decimation Strike, which I'll show later. Basically, the first time you hit an enemy, they take between 5 to 30% of their health bar, which sometimes you get lucky on a boss, like a third of their health is just instantly gone. But it's also nice because whenever one of those enemies explode with the with that white AoE, with that thing right there, the white AoE, right when that hit applies, they also applies the Smitten Strike. So that's why it pretty much just kills anything that it touches. Yep. This build's also really nice for the current leagues, league mechanics, reach, ritual. You basically just start it and hold the right click. I've got a bit of mana leech, just 3 nodes on the passive tree, which I'll show later. It keeps me alive. 1 explosion basically heals my mana to full, which I am using Mind Over Matter and Eldritch Battery. I also have Chaos Inoculation because YOLO, but it's been working out well. Nothing's really a danger. Oh, that. Yeah, nothing's really a danger of one-shotting me unless I get Giga surrounded and I just like I'm not right-clicking in time. There we go. Let's see, that guy exploded and really take any damage. So this guy's gonna be tough. I'm gonna essence drain him so he freezes and he's dead. There we go. That's basically some gameplay of the build. Breach is really fun with this build, I'd say. One of those, and you just get this chain reaction of explosions, since demons have a 20% chance for that happening, so double the chance. But let me show all of that. Let me get out of here. And apologies if this is all over the place. I've never really do build guides or anything. I just thought this was a fun thing to share. It's my first time playing POE. So you're gonna laugh because the start of this path is really bad, but you really had no choice. So yeah, I decided, let me make a witch hunter so I can take advantage of this. Right? I wanna play a chaos build, but I don't want to be a witch. And this is a 10% chance when you kill an enemy to explode. It does their full life as damage, and the chance is doubled against undead and demons. So it's so good for breach. I also went this path. Culling Strike is whatever. Ends boss fights a little quicker. Decimating Strike, really good for the reason I explained before. Any hit, they lose between 5 to 30% before the hit applies. So when this goes off, they lose 5 to 30% first. This is the full health of an enemy you just killed. It's gonna kill everything around it. Alright, so unfortunately the early game for this build is absolutely awful. You have to path your way up to the top side of the tree. These nodes are important. You get mana on kill and mana leech. Again, we play Mind Over Matter, so you right click once, kill about 10 enemies, you heal whatever damage you took. When you get up here, you're basically looking for anything that helps area size of your curses and chaos damage, right? So this is for curse size. We path down here just for a little more spell damage. I meant to grab more mana regeneration in my next 2 levels. This is the last path I've been taking lately, just for a bit more mana regeneration and stay alive. We path up here for this cluster is for area of effect and spell damage. Chaos damage, of course, grab all of these. This is the one node that gives chaos penetration, 3%. That's the only node that I know of on this tree right now. For jewels, they're basically all the same for me. Either spell or chaos damage, mana regeneration, area of effect size. I'll show another one here. Area effect. I also added a few freeze build up to help me with rares and bosses. I could just freeze them at the start. This is Mind Over Matter, of course. This is more area of effect size. All good. I've been experimenting with this, the knockback on area skill, since Hexblast is an area skill, and it's felt pretty helpful. So I notice it does like stagger enemies sometimes, which it's helpful, you know, like when you're doing ritual or breach, stop you from getting swarmed. more jewels. You can see they're all the same. Area effect, freeze, area of curses. Up here, you get, this is important, so you can stack a second curse. We'll get into that more later. Down here, this is all mana stuff. More damage with more mana you have. You can see I have about 3.5k. So this really adds up. Eldritch Battery, all energy shield to mana. So I learned that if you pick up nodes that increase energy shield, I know there's a bunch around here somewhere. Alright, yeah, like let's say you pick up this node. If you get Eldritch Battery, this won't apply to the energy shield before it transfers to your mana. So I just said screw it. I didn't bother picking up any of these since they don't help me with Eldritch Battery. And then we keep going this way. This is Chaos Inoculation. Immune to Chaos damage. I like it. It's a little risky, but you don't have to worry about Chaos resist. And it's worked out for me with this build. This is Chaos damage. This node's really good. When an how to say it? When an affix says gain instead of increased, I believe the multiplier is a bit different. It seems to add a bit more damage. I'm not too knowledgeable at it, but this 11% says gain 11%, which is it gives more damage to me than if this said 11% increased chaos damage. So we go down here, and this is more chaos damage, of course. +1 to skill is always the best, so this is worth patting down here for. And I'm pretty much done with the build. Like I said, I'm gonna head here the next 2 levels. I'm currently level 89. The next 9 levels after that are such a grind that I don't consider putting it into the build, but I'd probably go get, I don't know, more damage somewhere or something. So that's the passive tree. I haven't bothered doing the last ascendancy. I already know that I can. And for the last 2 points, I'd basically get Witchbane. Give enemies concentration, so bosses do attacks less often, is what I believe this does. But these are the main 6 points. This is just, you know, a little extra, which is nice. So that's the passive tree. I will show the skills. Contagion was nice while leveling up. I don't use it anymore, to be honest. The main 3 skills that are used are Essence Drain, Hex Blast, and Blasphemy. So Essence Drain, this is what I was talking about before. Chaos damage contributes to freeze buildup. It is really helpful. You just dot them up with Essence Drain and you start spamming Hex Blast and they will freeze pretty fast. Since Hex Blast does a lot of damage, it can also crit. So I just said, hey, how can I spread Essence Drain to as many enemies as possible, right? So I added Chain, Scatter Shot, and sure, added an extra slow to enemies with the dot as well. Since one of the nodes, I forgot which one on the passive tree that I took, you do more damage to enemies that are hindered. So, helpful. Hex Blast, your main source of damage, screen clear, boss damage, everything is what the build is based around. What it does is it detonates a curse on an enemy. Since our curses are auras, anything within our aura field is instantly cursed. So this works from, you know, if you have a good area of effect size, your curses go far. It works from as far as possible, which was the idea. For Hex Blast, we're using extra chaos damage, more damage with spell hits. I have some cast speed to negate the loss of cast speed. This skill felt really bad at first when I first got it, because the cast speed was really slow, but now you can see it's pretty good. More damage, +1 to skill, more damage, and more cast speed because this skill feels awful at first. Blasphemy, this is what's causing our curses to be an aura. And I've got 2 curses slotted in. I did have a third before, but I kind of changed the build up. I had temporal chains, which I felt wasn't necessary anymore since everything was dying. So I decided to save the 60 spirit for something else. But the main two are despair. There's no chaos resistant nodes on the passive tree. You need this, minus 30% chaos resistance to all enemies on the screen and your curse aura, basically. And feeble, enemies deal less damage, but they also take more damage, I believe. Is that how this works, or is it only enemies deal 20? Oh, I always thought you did more damage to them, but I guess they just do less damage to you, which is still helpful. More area of effect for blasphemy, and more area of effect. Cooldown skills don't matter on blasphemy. Anything that adds cooldown, since it's an aura, so this is a really good support gem. I can't socket anything else here at the moment because I don't have enough spirit. But that used to be temporal chains, which I removed for withering presence, which basically everything in your presence, you have a presence around your character, and any enemies in there, they slowly take more chaos damage over time, so I found it helpful, more than the slow. Dark effigy I use sometimes. Basically shoots grape juice at whatever currently has dots, so from despair. And I usually just throw this out for bosses. Reason being, I have the Wither gem on it, and it stacks up. The Withering Presence, the debuff is stacking up that you do more chaos damage. Every time the totem hits with this gem, it stacks it up faster, basically. So on a boss, I'll dot it up, put the totem, and then I'll start doing damage. And this totem will cap the debuff pretty quickly, so you're just melting the boss faster. For the other things, I added poison. Poison counts as one of the dots, and Dark FG shoots more grape juice. The more dots the enemies have. It's a fun little ability too, like if you Essence Drain and Contagion and dot a whole group of enemies, it's just purple juice flying all over the screen. So this was fun while leveling up too. I just don't need it anymore. And this is more damage to make the poison stronger. And that's pretty much it. Everything else, never use. Just Essence Drain, Hex Blast, and Blasphemy. Those are the main parts of the build. For gear, again, my gear isn't the best right now. It's pretty good for endgame, but you can see this mana could be better. I could find a +5 wand, +5 level to all chaos skills. More spell chaos damage would be ideal. The rest of the gear is just capping resistances, chaos damage rings, breach rings are nice. My necklace, again, all that matters is mana, chaos damage, resistance, spell damage, and a bit of cast speed if you can fit it. The only two uniques that I needed for this build was the Odre's Stitch Gloves. I just like the extra damage that it adds. I didn't really see any other gloves that would be as helpful as these at the moment. I could always switch this out for like a glove that gives a rarity increase, resistances, more mana. And this is working for now. This Grand Regalia is a lifesaver. It really made the rest of the gear fall into place since it gives 40 spirit and plus 20% to all resistances. So this is really helpful. Helped me cap my gear, and it helps me also use these gloves since I don't have to worry about resistances. And those are the most, I guess, unique parts of the gear, which are the two uniques. The rest don't matter. The rest could be anything as long as they have spell damage, chaos damage, mana, cast speed, mana regeneration, and your resistances. Yeah, that pretty much covers everything. Pretty fun little weird mercenary build I came up with. Hopefully they do add a few more chaos skills. maybe some chaos ascendancies that are fun to play, and I can just transfer this gear over and try that new character out. But for now, this kind of did what I was looking for. Shoot purple grape juice everywhere, big explosions. What more could you ask for? So if you decide to try it out, I hope you like it and have a good time.